But I kind of want to take a look first at how the playoff picture looks as of today and see what we can envision changing in the upcoming, 4 weeks left of the year.
Yep.
So let's start off on the National League side. From 1 to 6, you have the Brewers, the Phillies, and the Dodgers as your division leaders. The Dodgers as the 3 seed would be right now playing the Mets as the 6. Winner of that would play the Phillies, who are the 2. Playing the number 1 seed Brewers would be the 4 seed Cubs and 5 seeded Padres. What do we envision shaking up on that side of the bracket?
I mean, we have a couple division races that I believe have some games left. I know that the Phillies and Mets have a series coming up this upcoming week. The Brewers, I think that they have a big enough lead on the Cubs and they don't face them. So I'd be hard pressed to say that the Cubs are going to make a comeback in that division. So never say never. And then the Dodgers and Padres, it's the closest race of them all. And they don't face each other again this season. So I could see a potential swing in Padres in the Dodgers, but I personally think that the divisions are going to stay the way that they are, and I don't think the playoff picture is going to shake. I think we're going to see some ups and downs and some things get closer, but I think what it is right now, 1 through 6, is what it's going to stay. Maybe we see a shift in Padres Cubs, who's a home field for that series.
I mean, I'm here looking at division harmony, but it's not out of the question though for the Phillies to just completely drop the series against the Mets here.
I gotta be on a podcast with the 2 most pessimistic fans of their teams ever.
I just feel you have. I think they lost 9 straight games at Citi Field, right? I think, and it's just it just seems like the Mets have their number this year. So it's it's hard to be optimistic here about it too. So I mean,
it's not like the Phillies have, a Cy Young candidate and at least 2 MVP candidates on their team.
Nope.
It's just a bad time down there.
The Mets, with the Mets, the Mets are doing they're not doing. I guess the Phillies are up 6 games ahead of them now, but it's
I'll tell you what. I would be very much looking forward to a Phillies-Dodgers divisional round series. If the bracket holds warm to what it is in the NL, I do think that both of those teams would move on. I mean, if the Mets upset the Dodgers, I'd be looking forward to Mets-Phillies as the Mets as the 6th seed as well. So, but that side of the bracket, way
what
more.
What would be a better NLDS? If you had to choose one, Dodgers-Phillies or Mets-Phillies, what would bring more juice nationally?
Dodgers-Phillies.
Easy.
Yeah.
Which would be the better series, though, in your opinion?
We've seen Phillies Mets recently, and we see it all throughout the year. We haven't gotten that Phillies Dodgers playoff series that we've been begging to get for years now. So I would pick that as a more neutral fan. But I do understand why, as an NL East fan, John may rather see the Mets.
Would be nice to see the Mets just because it's so they can get kind of revenge from last season. They get there, knock them out, and stuff, and just really beat up on them in the playoffs. But I also would like to see the Dodgers too, just because I feel like that's been kind of hyped up over the last few years and it just never happened. Either Dodgers getting knocked out or the Phillies more getting knocked out. So it just never seems to line up well.
Yeah.
Now, what about on the flip side? You have Padres, Cubs, winner faces the Brewers.
Man, I think that side of the bracket, in my estimation, shapes up for the Padres to get to an NLCS. I mean, the Brewers are playing some really great baseball, and I don't mean to discredit them, but I would lean the Padres to come out of that side of the bracket. I think we'd have some really fun games and some really exciting series. And it would be kind of a more underrated side of the bracket. Obviously, one side with Philly, LA, and New York, whilst the other side is Milwaukee, San Diego, and Chicago, which isn't a small market by any means. But I would take San Diego to come out of there. But I think we could see some really fun, high-scoring games on that side of the bracket.
I mean, I mean, honestly, I think the start of the season. I mean, a lot of us thought the Cubs were going to be the team in the NL Central there coming up through there, and thought the Brewers were going to take like a step back this season.
I mean, after
So
that
like,
first series of the year versus the Yankees, people thought the Brewers were going to be like the Rockies.
yeah, so like for them to have like the number one seed in like the National League is almost crazy when you look at the start of the season and how everyone thought it was going to be going in there. I mean, I feel like out of the three teams, the Padres are probably the best team out of the three there. Probably, and probably they'll have probably the most chance to come out there and win that side there. But I mean, very easily, I feel like it could very easily well be the Brewers or the Cubs.
Now, flipping over to the American League side, you have the number 2 seeded Blue Jays currently taking on the winner of Seattle, the 6, and Houston, the 3. So you have a divisional matchup right there as of today. What do we think? Do we think the Blue Jays Astros is the better matchup or Blue Jays Mariners?
I mean, I think Blue Jays Mariners is more competitive because I think that the Astros are a tier above both of those teams. So, in form of your question, Blue Jays Mariners is the better series.
That's exactly why I phrased it the way I did. Because that's what we want. We want to see the better series.
Yeah, we want the Astros out of the playoffs. I mean, the better series. We want to see the better series.
We just want what's best for baseball.
Right.
And good baseball series are the best.
And what's best for baseball is the Yankees in the World Series against a surging out of nowhere Cincinnati Reds team.
Yes, but we both know that would terrify me. I would just be thinking about how Hunter Green is just going to mow us down.
Yeah.
Ellie De La Cruz is going to have like the World Series record for inside the park home runs or something.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, Seattle versus Toronto would be the best outcome for baseball. But the Astros are the best team of the bunch, so take that however you want.
Now, do we see anything shaking up? Could Seattle overtake Houston? Could
I think that AL West is all up for grabs. I know this upcoming weekend, the Astros and Rangers have a set against each other, and that could really muddy the waters depending on what Seattle does this week as well. We're going to talk about them in a second, but the AL East, obviously, it's Toronto and then both New York and Boston 2.5 games back, and the Yankees have series with both of those teams over the next 2 weeks. So by no means is the AL playoff bracket set at all.
now flipping over to the other part of that AL side, you have the 4-seeded Yankees hosting the 5-seeded Red Sox. Winner goes on to Detroit, the 1 seed. The Yankees have had no success versus the Red Sox this year. Could that change in October?
Could it? Yeah. Do I want to face them? No. Listen, we'll see how the series goes in 2 weeks' time, but the Yankees have not shown an ability to compete with Boston this year at a high level. I wouldn't pick them in a playoff series against Boston as things stand today. Maybe the Yankees get hot and they sweep Boston in this upcoming series, and that could be something that could instill some life into me picking the Yankees to win that series, but ultimately, I think Boston would take that series as things currently stand.
Now, which is a better series versus Detroit? Yankees or Red Sox?
Pass. Yankees, Red Sox is the better series.
I was going to say the same thing. I feel like Yankees, Red Sox is the one that everyone's going to want to watch. And then after that, it's probably like a push.
Yeah, listen, for me, obviously Yankees, Detroit's the better series. And then you have the Glaber revenge factor for any Tigers fans out there. But ultimately, I think that those are the same level series. I would pick New York or Boston to beat Detroit, whichever one of them faced them.
Now, just moving off past this, bracket, the Brewers have the best record in Major League Baseball, 85-54. They're pretty comfortably winning their division. We do have 3 divisions within a less comfortable amount of games against each other. The Dodgers are 2.5 up on San Diego. the Dodgers do have the tiebreaker over the Padres. How do we feel about San Diego's chances of overtaking the Dodgers?
Pretty good, actually. I mean, like 2.5 games. I mean, it's not like 2.5 games is not a lot lead, and I feel like the Dodgers haven't been very dominant the second half of the season here. So
I am checking here on Tankathon, looking at both teams' strength of schedule remaining. The Padres have the easiest schedule remaining in baseball per Tankathon, with their toughest series being a 3-game set versus Milwaukee and the Mets, but then they also have the Reds, 7 left against the Rockies, 3 against the White Sox, 2 against the Orioles, 3 against the Diamondbacks. But the Dodgers are 27th. They have a 3-game set versus the Phillies, the Mariners, 7 left versus the Giants, and then 3-game set still to go versus Rockies, Pirates, Orioles, and Diamondback. Man, 7 games versus the Rockies left on the schedule and 3 versus the White Sox. I do like the Padres' shot. I do.
It's just that tiebreaker leaning the Dodgers' way gives me more pause than I think both of you when it comes to that.
Yeah,
because they have to play a game better than the games back shows. And that's still really tough because anybody can beat anybody. And, the Rockies aren't a slouch in that sense where they could just decide to sweep the Padres out of nowhere. And it's not like we haven't seen them, beat the Dodgers in a series pretty easily.
Yeah.
Like the Rockies aren't a punching bag of their division. They're just a punching bag for the rest of the league.
No, and that's fair. I also think the series against the White Sox and Orioles is helpful. The Diamondbacks won't be, as committed as they have been. I like the Padres shot, truthfully, as where things currently stand. It'd be tough press for me to bet against the Dodgers, but of your question, do I like the Padres odds? I do.
So now going to the AL West, Houston leads Seattle by 3 games. Right now they're slated to play each other in the wild card round. Could we see Seattle overtake Houston? Or is Houston just that far superior where you don't really care what the game's difference is? They're just going to end up winning the division.
So Houston has the 13th hardest remaining schedule, Seattle 25th. So that's obviously a big plus in the advantage of Seattle. But even at that, I'm going to stand and say that Houston's just too good.
Experience means something.
Yeah, experience in this late stretch in September. The fact that I do think that even while it could be a tough schedule, Houston is still, to me, the best team in the AL. So while it's a tough schedule, they're a tougher team than Seattle. So to me, this kind of evens out, and I'll lean on Houston, who already has a 3-game advantage.
it's hard to disagree with Dylan on that. I mean, because
I was spitting facts.
I mean, it's hard to because I think when we read the thing, I had the Astros going to the World Series, so it's just it's hard for me to go back and say they're gonna, lose their division to the Mariners.
And then lastly, for the division series, at least, or the division races, I should say, AL East, Toronto's 2.5 up on the Yankees. Now, I'm pretty sure I've put myself as the Yankees pessimist in a way, especially last year during the playoffs where I was always betting against the Yankees.
Yeah.
But I've also put myself in position as the Blue Jays hater, where I have no faith in the Blue Jays. So this is really like...
Well, you could pick Boston. They're also 2.5 back.
They are. But I wasn't going to do that to myself. This is an immovable force. And I'm going to go the Yankees beating the Blue Jays for the division. I think based on the way that the Yankees have the easiest schedule in baseball left.
Yeah. I mean, it's not according to Tankathon, but Toronto is the 8th hardest, Boston has the 9th hardest, and the Yankees have the 21st hardest.
So I think I'm going to take that over, being on the harder half of the schedule where 2.5 games, the Yankees have made up a lot of ground playing some really bad teams. And ultimately, that's what they have to finish up their schedule. They have a hard 2-week stretch where you're playing Houston, Detroit, Boston, Toronto. So as long as you don't dig yourself in too big of a hole, finishing up against the Orioles, the Twins, the White Sox,
Yeah.
put themselves in a position that they can just eke out a division win.
The Yankees have what could be considered the toughest 2 weeks upcoming, followed by the easiest 2 weeks that any team in baseball will have all year after that. So if
With
they
that
could
said-
hit 500 over these next 2 weeks, I think that they for sure will win the division.
Now, with that said, would you rather the harder stretch come before the easier stretch, or the easier stretch after the harder stretch?
No, I'd rather it the way that it's set up. A nice test early in September to see where you measure up, and then 2 weeks to, if you get punched in the mouth, re-find yourself, re-lock in, and re-get focused. And again, baseball's a sport of runs and a sport of who's hot at the right time, and getting to face off against the White Sox, the Orioles, and the Twins to get hot going into a postseason run is exactly where I'd want to be.
I 100% agree. Now, John, if I throw in the Red Sox into that equation, does that change anything for you?
I feel like the Red Sox very well could win it too. I mean, because you look at Yankees 2.5 games, Red Sox 2.5 games out. I mean, I don't have that much faith in the Blue Jays either. I mean, it's just because you look at it. I mean, even though Boston might have a tougher stretch of games, like they might be the better team at this point in the season right now so far. So I mean, good team. Even though it's tougher, they can if they win those series, and they very well can, because they're good enough to do it. So it's like I want to take Boston because I think I was high on them at the start of the season. Still like them now. So
Yeah, I think me and John both had Boston going to the World Series to
I
open
think
the year.
we did.
So I still love Boston's odds to go to the World Series, but I do think that at this point in time, it's going to be from a wild card spot.
Now, looking back at what we had back in March 18th is when we recorded our AL East predictions. And John, you had Boston coming in second
Did
in
I?
the division. So you
Yes.
went Yankees, Boston,
okay.
Baltimore, Toronto, Tampa Bay. Dylan,
And I had them winning the
you
World
had
Series.
Boston winning the division, Dylan,
Yeah.
followed by the Yankees and the Blue Jays.
Sniped.
And
Sniped.
Ben had the Yankees winning the division, followed by Boston, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, and then Toronto in last place. And I also had Boston winning the division. So,
And then I had Boston winning the World Series, I think. Or not winning the World Series, or at least in the World Series.
let's see if
I think
can.
I had the Dodgers, Red Sox.
You may have for the World Series predictions, John, you had Dodgers over Boston.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Dylan, you had Dodgers over Boston. Ben had the Mets over Baltimore. And I had the Dodgers over Kansas City.
That's still in play, though, too. The Kansas City, because I think they're only 2.5 out of the wild card.
Well, let's go on to that, because in the wild card for the third American League wild card, Seattle has it right now. They're 1.5 games up on the Rangers and 2.5 up on Kansas City. Could we see either one of those teams realistically knock out Seattle?
I mean, when
or
it's
is there a world
close.
where Houston misses the playoffs? Because
No, I'm out on that. I don't
there's
need
only
to
4.5 games between Houston being in the playoffs and being out of the playoffs.
This is Corey's fantasy, having Houston win the playoffs. This is
I'm out on that take. Kansas City, I do think could potentially get in over Seattle, or I think that's possible. But I'm out on Houston missing the playoffs.
Just to correct you, John, I think the Yankees need to beat Houston in a playoff series if they're ever going to win a World Series. So I kind of need Houston in the playoffs.
So, but what if they don't make it and the Yankees go? If they win the World Series without beating Houston, is that just that a lesser World Series win?
They're not going to win the World Series. They have to beat Houston. We saw that last year where they didn't beat Houston and then didn't win the World Series.
Also, the formula is to beat Houston, and
You
then they're
need
going
to
to win
beat
the World
Houston
Series.
on your way to the World Series.
I got you.
You need to erase the ghosts. Exercise those demons. But between Kansas City and Texas, there's a 1-game difference. Which of those two teams is more likely to make the wild card than the other?
The Texas Rangers, and I'm not just saying this because I bet on them to win their division in the preseason, and that still has life. I'm saying it because I believe that the Rangers do still have the bats to get healthy at the right time and get going. They've gotten going a little bit in recent stretches. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They're on a 6-game win streak. They still have that plus 94 run differential, which is really, really solid at this point in time. They have everything but the record of a good baseball team at this point in time, to be honest, when it comes to stats. Now, the thing that kills them is they do have the 4th hardest remaining schedule, so it'll be an uphill battle to get there. They have 6 against the Astros, 3 against the Brewers, 3 against the Mets, 3 against the Guardians. Like it is a road for, it's a gauntlet, but I don't believe in the Kansas City Royals worth a lick. So give me the Rangers in that spot.
What do you think, John?
I'll go against what Dylan's saying. I'm going to say I believe in the Royals. Bobby Witt Jr.
I was gonna ask you if one player is gonna lead the Royals, who's it gonna be?
Bobby Witt Jr. is going to do it. He's going to have an incredible stretch.
Dylan, if one player is gonna lead the Rangers, who's it gonna be?
Seager, guy who already led him once before.
I like it. Now going to the NL side of things, the Mets, they're 4 up on the surging Cincinnati Reds, a team that I really liked, who I thought was going to possibly win the division or at least make the wild card. 4 games is still very achievable.
I'm not going to say I would love if the Mets just completely imploded here and lost that last wild card spot to the Reds.
How realistic is that happening, though?
It's not. It's not happening. The Mets are a better team than the Cincinnati Reds. Juan Soto, we're going to talk about him a little bit later. Spoiler alert. He is playing like his contract, at least over the last week. He's getting hot at the right time. This team just completed a 3-game sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies. The New York Mets are playing excellent baseball right now, and they are a clearly more talented roster than the Reds. Mind you, the Reds also have the 2nd toughest schedule in terms of remaining games. 3 games versus the Brewers, 4 versus the Cubs, 2 versus the Blue Jays, 3 versus the Padres, and a 3-game set versus those same New York Mets.
I do also want to throw out there that the San Francisco Giants are 5 back. Now we're getting to the point where 5 games is a lot to cover, but there's still a chance for them.
Pack them up. Cancun on 3, baby. 1, 2, 3.